Hey, hey.
Hey, we live.
We're here. Everybody here. I don't even, have we decided what we're gonna call this yet? But
No, we'll figure
yeah,
it out
yeah,
in due time.
yeah. So, all things considered, we're doing our best here. Uh, things off to a little rough start, but hey, man, doesn't isn't gonna stop us from
Troubleshooting,
having fun.
tech, you know.
Yeah, it's always rocky on the first one. I, even
Too
Rogan wasn't
true.
polished. Are you kidding me? That was so grainy. But yeah, man. So
Uh,
I've been what?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But yeah, so man, I've been just first things this morning. I've been just doom scrolling on Instagram and just running into some of the weirdest crap. Um, One of them ended up being a Hennessy commercial. I was not expecting, but you know, it made me ask a lot of questions. I even showed it to my mom because I was just so weirded out by it. So here, let me share it with you real quick.
Ooh,
Screen.
weirded out by it.
Yeah, it's
Just because of the nature of how it's being presented, or
pretty much, yeah. So here,
like what advertising has become these days.
well, more so because it lends to the thought of the powers that currently are telling us the BS right to our faces, like telling us the truth of the situation to our faces and then feeding us a bunch of BS.
Hmm.
So, here's the commercial.
Oh, cool. This is high tech. You can just show it to me. I can't hear it, but
No sound?
no sound. Not hearing any
Okay.
sound. It's visually striking enough. This is going to be an alcohol commercial.
Right, exactly.
Already just Yeah, already it's just kind of like, okay, what, we're exploring space. And then right now, that's when you get to see the disclaimer. Please drink responsibly. Like before you even know that it's. That's funny. Okay. Uh huh.
Like, so, okay.
So this got targeted to you on Instagram.
Yeah. And so, basically, the idea is,
You even
you
drink
know,
whiskey? Like, do you are you?
I used to drink a lot of whiskey, yeah, but I
Okay.
was I was not a cognac fan. My favorite was Wild Turkey 101.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of myself at that point.
You mean you weren't going to space or the deepest point in the ocean?
No, I was trying to find the deepest point of that bottle, man. But
All right.
so that whole transition there, where it's going directly up into the stratosphere and then immediately breaks into this watery situation, which if you were going to record water, like a person just coming down into the water from underneath to see that effect, wouldn't you have it oriented this way so that this is the top, this is the surface of the water, and you're coming down
Oh.
instead of
Pres-
going up like you're bursting through the firmament into the waters above?
Hmm.
And I
I mean,
mean,
unless they're doubling down on you know, that whole maybe it's like kind of like an inverted like you're breaking through. And so by turning it upside down, you're also, in a way, I don't know. I'm grasping at straws. But.
Yeah, I mean, I, I mean, you could speculate all sorts of ways to try and justify why it is that they chose to do that, but it looks so particular. Like, the things that we're told constantly is not the situation, you know? Like, of course, we're on a ball. It is a particle simulation universe. Everything is fractal in that nature. Why wouldn't it be? That makes sense. I mean, that's how I've rationalized it all my life. That's how I've been taught. Like,
Yeah,
but for them to just choose to do that.
It's so funny to me that that's what you focus on, because to me it's like I can't get past the fact that like what the fuck does this have to do with drinking cognac? Like,
Right, yeah.
and and that's been ads for a long time now.
Sure, yeah.
You know, like you know, I guess I'm nostalgic for ads that were like, "Hey, this is our product, and this is why it works great, and you're gonna love it too." Like,
Yeah.
we don't need everything else.
No, like,
But
put it in a cognac bottle. Have two dudes cheersing and just toasting,
mhm.
whatever.
Talk about what it tastes like, because you're trying to get. I mean, because I've also heard that that's what advertising is these days. You're just trying to be seen. Like people already know about Hennessy. They've heard of it before, or they haven't. But like, the only reason that Coke needs to do commercials is so that people go, "Oh yeah, like Coke's still doing well because they
Yeah.
have." Because I just saw a commercial. If they stop doing commercials, it'd be like I won't think about it anymore, and you might lose my attention. So they could do a. That's why they can do polar bears. Like, but at least they're still drinking Coke, right? Like, oh, the polar bears.
Right.
They
Yeah,
have a whole society of themselves, but maybe that's because they're drinking Coke. Like you could still kind of like gather. Oh, okay, that's what they're advertising here. But this is like.
it's
I
so
mean, it's like a
abstract.
stretch at the very end. It's like, oh, okay, so like if I drink Hennessy, I'm gonna reach the deepest depths of what I'm capable of. I'm gonna do my
Sure.
great work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's basically implying what most things do when they're trying to get you to buy them is incentivize you with things that wouldn't necessarily be correlated with what you're actually doing, like having a
Yeah.
beer, and then all of a sudden you're talking to some sexy lady at the bar. It's like, cheers, clinky clink, yeah. And then, or you're surrounded by all your friends. Hey, have a Coke,
I mean,
or
there's nothing inherently wrong, I think, with promoting that psychology, right? Where you're like, hey, I mean, I guess it's the idea that you need something external to do that. You know, take this thing, do this thing, buy this thing, and now you will be able to. Now you can do the thing. Um, that's where our current psychology broadly is trapped. It's like it needs to be something external that validates, hey, you can get there now. So even if, so I mean, I guess ultimately they're just selling the idea that it's possible,
sure,
and it's possible, but you need an external stimulus to get you there. But
right,
even that's the lie, though. Like if you have any kind of base skepticism, even the lowest level of skepticism, watching a commercial, you go, yeah, but I still got to walk up to the pretty girl. It's
right.
not the drink's not going to give me the courage, or maybe it does give me the courage, but I still have to have a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's got to go really well. You're not seeing any of that in the commercial. You're just seeing that it's happening, and you're not necessarily hearing it, or you don't know how it's going to all go.
Mm-hmm.
But it might, at least even with the placebo effect, give you the courage, right, to make
Sure.
that first step. And then, which is a step towards, if that's a goal or whatever of yours, to do that thing, to go to be the first person to break the stratosphere. Um, so yeah, I mean, I can't get mad at. I guess I can't get mad at. I mean, it just because it takes it, but I guess it does. It takes some ability to self-reflect and go, I see what's happening here. I see what they're doing, so that I can look at it with like, this is ridiculous. But as I was initially saying, it's like they don't care. They don't care whether you believe it or not. You've got they've got your attention, and now you've at least got some. You're thinking about Hennessy, and now we're talking about it.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And by far, we are not being sponsored by anything close to that. So.
Oh, come on, Hennessy. This is our first podcast. Nobody knows about us. We'll get eyeballs on.
Right? Yeah. Little money in that back pocket wouldn't hurt.
Mm-hmm. I like my backstage here, by the way. Like, I'm just like, got a stroller, guitar, vacuum cleaner. This is what I'm about. Yoga mat on the ground.
I'm a little jealous, man, because I've got a brick wall.
Hey, you keep the focus where it needs to be on the man with the ideas, the man speaking.
The moneymaker right here.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, dude. So, to your credit, today is probably a bit of a tough one for you, since it is the complex stability of the thunderstorm. We're talking Mayan calendar.
So I got that.
Well, just so cool. Everybody else is caught up here. Yeah.
No, this is cool. So, no, I'm glad that we're getting into this too. So you can kind of like each day you get it's kind of like a horoscope. You get a kind of window into how what's going on is impacting whatever sign you might be. Mm-hmm. So get into some more details here. What are we looking at? What's going on? Explain away what's happening in my life right now, because I could really use it.
All right, so just a quick recap of how it all works. The Mayans, for years and years and years, I'm not going to speculate for how long, but they for a very long time sat there and paid attention to the stars, and were able to assess that a certain pattern emerged out of the energies emanating from the center of the galaxy. And they were able to construct what is known as the Tzolk'in calendar. Tzolkin. The Tzolk'in calendar.
Cool.
And so it's a cycle of 260 days, and it's arranged through a 13-day count as you proceed through 20 different signs. So it would go 1 1 1 2 or 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4 all the way to 13 13, and then the next cycle of 13 would start on the 14th sign. So it'd be 14 1 15 2.
Yeah. But just real quick, they're 260 days relative to our Gregorian 360 days. Is that how it just shifts through time? Like, it doesn't match the seasons; it's matching the celestial bodies or whatever.
Yeah. Well, they do have a calendar based off of each celestial body, whereas this Tzolk'in, several different calendars. Where this one Tzolk'in is very much focused on the energies. They do have a seasonal calendar, which is called the Ha'ab, which is basically a 360-day calendar. But they adjust for 5 days of disparity because of the positioning of the Earth in its orbit around the sun. So they understand that at some point the precession of the Earth around the sun shifted so that the year was lengthened by 5 days. And so they account those 5 days as rest. Do not do anything. Do not, it's days of fasting. And then there's a day of celebration at the end when we all come back into the cycle of 360, which is the understanding of the circle, right? 360 degrees. So, each person is born on a certain day, and you carry that energy with you throughout your life. And you're able if you're paying attention to utilize it, I like to compare it to skiing down a hill. It makes it so that going through life, energetically at least, is like skiing down a bunny hill instead of tumbling down a black diamond. You know, you don't know what's coming. You might hit a tree or something. You know, you kind of have a clear view what's in front of you, but because you don't have the roadmap exactly, planned out, you might fall in a hole or whatever. So, today happens to be the I called it the complex stability of the thunderstorm. And I say complex stability because that's what the number 12 represents. And the thunderstorm is the 19th symbol. So tomorrow is actually the end of the cycle, the 260-day cycle for the Tzolk'in calendar.
Okay.
Which is pretty trippy, I think, is the fruit of the light is tomorrow, which could.
What is that?
Hey man, like it's all tied into hero's journey things. It's basically the basis for the hero's journey. It's constructed the exact same way. You start from potential. You have a change. There's a disparity. There's a truth. There's a major event, and then it all comes back into completion. And then the thunderstorm is also known as trial by fire. So, the fact that we're doing this on the day of trial by fire, complex stability, which is the idea of complex stability would be, because it's the number 12, it's 6 and 6. An organic pairing of two different bodies. You could also think of it as a species catching its niche. Say a foot, for example, in evolution, or a palm. You've got 5 digits, right, and a source point, making 6.
Gotcha.
So complex stability.
2 6s.
Yeah, 2 6s.
That's how we got.
And that's how we can.
Hands.
And that's how we can stand up and take off running, and maintain this stability through a complex system. Because there's about how many bones are in your feet? A lot.
I don't know. I know there's like 206 bones in the body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
The total.
the majority are in your hands and feet.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because it's such a complex.
Ability.
Yeah, it's such a complex system. It does so much for us. And I was actually another thing I ended up seeing on Instagram was a commercial for those barefoot socks, the super socks that you can go running around in and they're indestructible. Because basically the idea is that we've been destroying our feet by squeezing them into these shoes, and so once we release them, we can actually start to feel and connect to the earth better and feel more whole in our bodies and stronger and more stable. Whereas the things that we've been cramming our feet in that are supposed to support and help are actually causing the collapse of our foot, degradation.
Yes, that's definitely a big theme in everything around our technological advances. It's lulled us into this false sense of security. A lot of our systems that are there to help us be aware of, I don't know, the environment, the things that kept us alive. We've got a technology for that, like air conditioning, for example, where now we don't have to thermoregulate. Even just clothes. Like starting with clothes, just wearing clothes. It's like, okay, now we can go into environments where, there might be other resources, but, we can't stay out in that environment indefinitely without some sort of transhuman adaptation, which started as clothes and has ultimately means that now we can live in the desert and we have AC, and so we're okay.
Right? Or, live
And
in the Arctic, and
right,
chill in an
just
igloo or underground or whatever.
and have a sauna, so that we can
Yeah.
visit the extremes. Well, I mean, that would actually be like a healthy way to keep the body kind of like engaged. Is like you live in the Arctic, and there are probably times a year where you can go out without as many layers, so you really feel the cold, and then
Hmm.
you also have yourself a sauna so that you can your body is still getting exposed to those extremes and keeping those systems online and engaged. But for the most part, we want to be comfortable these days. And so, even at the slightest deviation from our normal temperature, or if we even get a little bit hungry, maybe we have a craving for something, we'll just say yes to it rather than go, oh, I'll wait till I'm really actually hungry, or you know, um, uh, you know, uh, yeah, rather than risk being pre-diabetic or going full diabetes.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Dude.
we're too asleep now to even recognize that. Like, I think in a lot of ways, like we are waking up, or there's a significant portion of folks that are awakening to that because you can only be, I don't know, dampened for so long. Maybe I don't know
Yeah.
before a cycle, like kind of resets things or pushes things through or breaks
Yeah.
the bottleneck.
I was actually. It's so funny that you touch on that. Because I saw something else that was saying that the sun is in its own cycle, right? It's got its own cycles and it's producing certain vibrations and light codes that are emanating from it to Earth. And part of the reason why, or maybe the majority of the reason why chemtrails are even a thing, is so they can block those codes out. They can cool the earth and keep light from actually getting to us so that we won't wake up as soon as we're supposed to.
That's
We
what
don't
that
have.
was all about. I've heard about that conspiracy before, but yeah,
Well, I,
I never heard it to that extent. Like, or investigated what chemtrails were about, but
well, a lot of
just
it's.
black and white.
Well, I mean, and poisoning humanity. I mean, because they're dumping out
Right.
aluminum and mercury in troves, and apparently biomass at the same time, like human biomass. What that means, I don't know. But I watched a dude that was a whistleblower. He was apparently a medical doctor treating the pilots that were producing, or not producing, but doing their
Flying
job,
these,
flying these planes and
they knew
spewing
what they
out
were
these.
doing.
Right.
I mean, they had to be briefed on what they were doing. I guess
To a certain extent.
with a little bit of research, they could probably, I mean, eventually figure it out too.
Hmm.
But that's crazy. That's crazy to me too. It's like any of those conspiracies. It's like the networks of compliance that it takes to keep it buttoned up. It's like, and then it just seems impractical. But at the same time, it's like we're having Senate hearings on the existence of UAPs, and it's just like no one's bothered by it. No one's bothered by the fact that aliens are, or just technology beyond our understanding has been around,
Hmm.
and so it's like there's not really like what am I going to do about it?
Right.
Is kind of like the attitude that everyone has to take. It's
Right.
not like they're blowing up the earth or anything. Same thing. It's like, well, what is anybody, or you're for a while. It's just like you're the crazy person that believes that the government would be doing this, or that there
Right.
are, yeah,
I mean, I got two examples that just popped into my mind, like right out the gate. One, like apartheid in South Africa. I mean, they had the Truth Commission so that everybody could voice their concerns and their grievances, and the clause was that if you were military and you performed horrible acts against humanity,
mm,
but you're willing to say these
come forth.
things because you were just doing your job, and the board verified that this is probably the case, that you were just doing your job, that orders were coming down to you that you had to execute, otherwise it was your ass.
Right.
That, okay, we won't try you, but
Right.
understand, like, this is, like, we can't accept this to go any further. And then they would try those who were the war criminals.
Right.
Another more current example would be like the Epstein Diddy situation. Like, you've got
Sure.
these people trapped in situations where their reputations and or lives could be at stake, and so they're participating and or colluding
Uh,
in the process, whether they realized it or not, and were kind of just stuck. They couldn't do anything, and if they were to try and report it, who would believe them?
yeah. And then their own livelihood would be, because would be, yeah, they'd be either you're choosing either being ostracized. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you're losing your life, maybe the only thing that you know how to do. So
Yeah,
if you really feel trapped, and it's kind of like being forced to be addicted to something. You
yeah,
may not know going into it that that's what you're getting yourself into, and then you're put there. Probably you're selected because you are amiable in that way, like that you can be kind of led along, and but you're also not anti-authority enough where you would, break free of it once you realize what was happening to you,
mm-hmm.
and to a large extent that that's probably most people. That's most of us. Uh, I've heard uh, it's been said, like probably a lot of people think that if they were raised in pre-Nazi Germany, that they wouldn't have gone along with it all. They
Right.
would have stood up, and all you have to do is look at current day things that are happening, and it's like you know um, obviously we're not stopping. Yeah, well, there's a lot of talk maybe, but
Mm-hmm.
there's not a lot of action until we get to a breaking point. Like until war breaks out and the world has to decide. Maybe the stage needs to get bigger before you know you really have to make that choice of where you stand. Do you stand with your morals and risk your life and your livelihood and your relationships with your friends because everybody's having to be made that choice and
Mm-hmm.
things are coming to bear? Uh, but yeah, like until you actually go through it, until you actually have to make that choice, nobody, it'd be obtuse. It'd be you don't know what you'll do in a life or death situation
Yeah.
until you're faced with one,
Right.
and every context for that is different. Um, yeah, so it's fine to want to believe that you would, um, but yeah, until
Yeah.
you're truly tested, you don't know. Um, yeah, if it's between you and that person, you're always going to pick yourself probably first.
Right.
In most cases, for most people, unless that person is, your family, and even then, it's like I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of losing my thread here, but
Well, I mean, yeah, that brings me to another idea. I recently shout out to John Solo for his Messed Up Origins series on YouTube. He's a really good YouTuber. I love his content. He breaks down everything. He does his research and really has a fun time explaining it. And it's very entertaining. But he
I'll have
went
to look into it.
through, yeah, yeah. He went through the ones I watched were the origins of the Iron Giant, like the movie, but it was actually a book called The Iron Man, and the sequel, which he just produced a few days ago, called The Messed Up Origins of the Iron Woman. And so, like, we all know the story.
The messed up. The messed
Yes.
up origin.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. That's his whole thing. Is like the messed up origins of the Greek gods, the messed up origins of these Disney
Uh,
cartoons. Because some of them are rather dark.
It's yeah. I mean, it's all messed up if you're looking for a cookie cutter explanation to everything. You're gonna leave a lot of stuff out. You know, a
Yeah.
lot of the Disney movies or whatever that and fairy tales are based on stories that have real dark or like the Grimm tales, the Grimm brother. Anyway, like the origin stories are typically messed up, and then it's like, oh, we need to butter this up for the kids
Yeah.
so that and make it nice.
Yeah, but at the end you end up
I don't
losing the
know.
morals and stuff and all that. But
Right.
so with the Iron Giant, the idea was to the whole premise of the story was to create world peace, is to stop war. But through an external enemy, essentially. Basically, like what Reagan was proposing when he brought up the idea of Operation Star Wars or whatever, the Star Wars project, where like you basically have a laser in space to defend you from an alien attack. So,
Sure.
right.
Sure.
So the Iron Woman basically approaches the idea of how to stop destroying the environment, and it starts by showing the example of what happens to a river after pollution from a waste management site just completely devastates everything. And you learn through the process of the story that the waste management site literally employs everybody in the area, just about. So if you were to stop, you basically cut off the blood flow for the income that comes into that area. But if you don't stop, you're going to destroy the environment and you won't have anywhere to live anyway. So the whole process by which the Iron Woman makes change happen is by forcing people to see and hear and experience the pain of the environment through like this vision thing. So I mean, there's
That makes
no,
sense.
I mean, yeah, but there's no clear cut way of how it actually happens. It's all so metaphysical, because it expands to the point where the Iron Woman transmutates all the men into fish creatures, and they're suddenly struggling to breathe because they're out of water. So
Oh
all the
yeah.
women try to put them back into the river so that they can live. But now all those creatures are now in the poison river, experiencing the pain and the suffering that the animals were going through in the first place.
Really.
And it doesn't stop because all of that ends up coalescing into the real monster, which is like a literal Lovecraftian beast in the sky. It apparently forms itself first as like the spider creature, this multi-legged, multi-armed, multi-eyed, just carnivorous thing that is constantly feasting, constantly catching things in its web. First, it says it's the manifestation of wealth. It's the god of wealth. It's the god of capturing wealth, and then it finally, through force by the Iron Woman, is made to admit that it's actually just a mess. That it
That's
refuses to clean, and that mommy will clean it up. So it's basically
oh
just, I don't know, the manifestation of laziness and uh,
it sounds like consumption too. Like
yeah,
well, because obviously you're that sounds like countless stories, representations of the divine feminine as compared to the divine masculine. I don't know if it's the divine masculine or if it's ever described that way,
oh
but
yeah,
like if they're in balance, you wouldn't have that factory. It would have never existed in the first place. People would be living in um, companionship with nature if you
Yeah.
have balance. As soon as you start going, oh, we could have more, and in order to get more, we need to make a factory, and this factory, in order to process to make more, needs to pollute the river. Yeah, we're going to have more people consuming and making this process, but then we're going to lose. It's saying, hey, let's lean on the side of the divine masculine versus the divine feminine, and nature, regardless of either way you go, is going to seek balance, seek homeostasis, and so that's why like all of those ways that the iron the female iron giant,
Hmm.
or what's the name of that
The Iron
character?
Woman.
The Iron
Very
Woman.
simplistic, yeah.
I mean that's why I kind of love like, yeah, of course it's not going to be a direct, because like the iron giant is going to be, they're a threat because it's like the indomitable tank, right? It's
Hmm.
like, well,
Yeah.
we have no way to destroy it. It just gets to kind of keep, it can blast through everything,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like tanks were in World War One. It's like, well, we can't stop that thing. I
Hmm.
mean, even though ultimately you could, there
Yeah.
is ways. It forces you to come up with creative ways to stop it, but um, that that the feminine works the other way around. It's like
Right.
and that's also like how the divine mother or the kundalini is spoken about. It's like, yeah, keep doing whatever you want to do. Like the divine mother will love you regardless, and it'll hold you and it'll keep you. Um, and it forces you to see through some sort of hall of mirrors what you're doing to yourself, and force you to face it. You know, eventually in some form or fashion, where you have to see the monster that you've made yourself into,
Yeah.
by following that path, and it can be. That's the most difficult thing, is because like you have to look at yourself and go, well, if you're the pilot that's putting the um, what's it called,
Chemicals.
the chemicals into the air. Yeah, what is it called? The chemtrails.
Yeah.
If you're the pilot that has to drop the bomb on Hiroshima, like
Right.
um, you know that, yeah, like the only way if you're Oppenheimer, and you're you're like you could spend the rest of your life in regret of what you've done, or trying to make up for it
Yeah.
in whatever way. I mean, that's the only way, or the pain could be too great.
Yeah.
But that's the experience. Somebody needs to experience it in the same way, like we were talking about with whether you're in pre-Nazi Germany, or you did war crimes during apartheid South Africa.
Hmm.
And it's happening right now in our
Right.
lives to some extent,
Yeah.
where we are just accepting the status quo. And maybe it's because we don't feel we have an agency or an avenue in which to free ourselves of it,
Right.
right? Like I need a job, so I need to keep making money so that I can keep living my life. But the standard of living that I expect is detrimental. It's not something that everybody can necessarily have if we want to stay in balance. Um,
Yeah.
with the ecosystem. Um,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. And
and that's
and
that. Yeah.
oh, I was just gonna say, man, like it's at that you very, very succinctly just narrowed down the premise between the two books. But because the Iron Man, it deviates from the movie a little bit, where the movie kind of takes the idea of what if a gun had a soul. You know,
hmm
that's why it's so destructive and blows up tanks, and like that's the major conflict in the movie. In the
I mean,
book,
wait. All guns do have souls, because in order to fire, they need a soul carrier
a body,
to fire them. But yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
got to
Go
have a
ahead.
finger to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
I mean,
Guns don't kill people. People kill people.
people kill people. Yeah. But yeah. So the the book basically is like, okay, this is a weird creature. We don't understand it, but you know, but it's destroying our thing. So let's just like get rid of it. Which they do in a very awkward way. They just dig a big hole. It falls in through like a little bit of a small trap, and then they bury it. And obviously, it doesn't last long because it's not a flesh based organism, so it eventually crawls out and ends up eating more metal, and actually ends up doing really well because it finds a scrapyard and it becomes really healthy, and it makes friends with Hogarth. But at some
Is that
point,
the little boy?
the little
Is that the
boy,
little
yeah,
boy
yeah,
movie?
yeah.
Okay.
But at some point, like an external threat so great that it trumps all the power of the world, uh, arrives and basically demands to be fed life, period, no exceptions. And so the boy asks the Iron Giant to solve the situation, and through a little convincing, he ends up, realizing that he's just as much a part of this world and is going to be just as affected. So he takes charge, and he wins through a very direct, male-oriented competition of strength. You know, and so like
Just a cosmic arm wrestle.
basically, yeah,
Or,
yeah.
yeah.
This Goliath entity, who that has just cosmic powers beyond reckoning, is defeated through a small, just a very niche aspect of the Iron Giant's makeup. He can withstand immense amounts of heat without melting because he's got a high melting point. Whereas the only heat source available to be able to generate enough power for the creature to have to use is the sun. And so, like after 3 rounds of this competition, the creature gives up because it can't stand standing on the sun anymore, and just gives its allegiance to the Iron Giant, and it basically prompts him to just be like, look, just be good. Don't consume, just be good and create peace. And so the dragon, it's a giant bat dragon angel creature,
Okay.
literally
Yeah.
described that way. And it basically creates this song that in engages everybody on the planet, so much so that they just drop their weapons. They don't want to fight anymore, and they would just rather listen to this peaceful song because it's so powerful and magical.
It took its job seriously from the Iron Giant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to the Iron Woman, it's a total internal first battle. Like nobody on the outside can understand what's exactly happening until they have that internal realization, that
Right.
vision, that scream that's emanating from all creatures and essentially the earth. And so you have to have this internal transformation that becomes an external transformation, literally in the story, because they become fish people. And then that all manifests into like this big emotional, dark emotional cloud of this non-corporeal god creature, which is very, etheric, which is very feminine in nature. And so it is the divine feminine that defeats this epic thing, and through that defeat, that dispelling of that dark cloud, those dark emotions, those dark thoughts, the light actually provides relief and healing and life to the surrounding areas, so that everything then transmutes into something that can be used as a fuel to run the world in a safe and efficient way. Ironically, I also watched another video where a dude literally is taking plastic and turning it into usable fuel.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, we need more of that for sure. Uh, and I was reading a part of Homo Deus,
Ooh.
which is the follow up to Sapiens, a
Oh,
book that I
nice. Yeah.
reviewed. So it's kind of like projecting into the future. And it was talking about how there it is. Oh my gosh, it's right there, just in case. Um,
Good book.
yes. Have you started it? Or
Just
have you
started.
gotten into
Yeah.
it?
Just started.
Oh, right on. Yeah, it'll grip you. And Homo Deus goes into like how we're trying to design ourselves or technologically advance ourselves into gods, essentially. Um, but in a sense, like can we? So far we've been able to, but like I don't know that we've truly been tested. Um, are we going to be able to continually outpace um, the ecological damage to the earth with scientific revelation? Are we going to be able to continue to come up with means to stave off, the basically we're raping the earth for all of its worth, to keep the economy growing. And the economy is what we're beholden to. If it continues to grow, then our humanist vision can continue, where we're trying to lift everybody up. But in order to lift everybody's physical body up, we need physical resources to do so. So we need to, and at the scale that humanity is these days, and the standard of living, it's just kind of hard to see how we can keep up.
Yeah.
Maybe AI has the answer. As a lot of people project, but maybe some sort of miracle. In our scientific revolution. So anyway, that's the part of the book that I just got to,
Wow.
and man, did that have me kind of going, revisiting an idea that kind of keeps coming up. Ever since being little and hearing about global warming and going, oh, that makes sense, and overpopulation, things are balancing out in kind of inverted ways. Mentioning overpopulation, I remember hearing about how in the developed world, uh, we're actually now the conversation is shifting towards depopulation. That we're not people aren't having kids at a rate that will keep up with how people are dying. And
Yeah.
also, I don't know how many years ago it was where, for the first time in decades or longer, the actual the average lifespan was going down in the U.S. I don't know if elsewhere, but that life expectancy is going down. Population is leveling out or bottoming out, so that the replacement rate, like every woman would need to have 2.1 kids,
Mm-hmm.
in order to meet replacement, so that we're actually going to slowly, but that's happening naturally. Whereas before we were like,
Oh, see,
what do you mean,
that's
not
that's
naturally?
where I would disagree. Yeah. So when you first gave me this book to read, and it says, uh, I quote, "I would recommend this book to anyone interested in a fun, engaging look at early human history. You'll have a hard time putting it down." Bill Gates. The fact that Bill Gates put his endorsement on something like this after talking about creating a scenario using vaccines, food, and other things to eliminate the growth of the population. Like, literally.
Yeah, but like there was a motivation not that long ago to do just that. I mean, I know it's not like, yes, that kind of very much is like a Scrooge example, like a quote from A Christmas Carol, where it's like, yeah, well, screw the kids. Better to decrease the surplus population. Like let's not feed the kids. And then by the end, of course, he's buying charitable and getting a big goose.
Right.
And in the same way that Bill Gates is like, hey, I hear everybody clamoring about the population issue. So let's actually like feather that out a little bit, because essentially the idea there is that Bill Gates wanted to control population growth through vaccine and food, like
Yeah.
control of where food is
And the content
how
of the
through
food
vaccines,
and what's in the food and vaccines.
and also
Yeah.
like access to vaccines that would otherwise.
No, not access to vaccines, but just the vaccines. He said it in a TED talk, and like I remember watching it like years
To
ago
like
for the first time, and it was when it first premiered, and my cousin and I were just like, "The fuck did he just say?
basically
What?"
neutering people through
Yeah,
vaccines.
yeah, basically
Like,
sterilizing
it's a vaccine
humanity.
so you don't. It's a vaccine so you don't get measles, but also you won't be able to reproduce.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean,
And I
I
saw.
mean, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I saw another video where a dude was saying that there was a study done where they had polyester pants on dogs. I mean, it sounds stupid, but like, how else are you gonna test fabric as some sort of any
Yeah.
kind of anything? How else are you gonna test it on
Test on
non-human?
animals for
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So they basically what they found was that dogs wearing polyester couldn't reproduce. Zero birth rate. Like, could not get pregnant. Whereas dogs wearing nothing or wearing all natural fibers like cotton or wool, 100% birth rate. 100% conception rate. So the idea was that the polyester creates a certain biofield or lack thereof that disrupts your hormones. And I mean,
Yeah.
if everything's based off of vibration, which that's what the universe is a vibratory field, which is the whole idea behind the Tzolk'in calendar, is that everything's energy and vibration, and that we're all affected by it every single day, and we have our own biofield, which is what our heart is generating constantly.
Right.
It's just, and I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense because you have iron in your blood, like it's iron based, that's what makes it red, that's the hemoglobin, and like you're constantly pushing iron through a small tube at a regular basis, constantly, over and over, in what water, essentially the best kind of conductor you could get. So your body is constantly generating energy. Everything is. So if you're putting things on your body that don't agree or aren't compatible, I mean, it's even in the Bible. Like, they say don't cross your fibers. Don't wear two different fibers at the same time. But like, to the idea that like if you're wearing fake stuff, you're not wearing something real, it'll harm you.
Like you're saying, we're basically electrical nodes, our electrical generators.
Mm-hmm.
And if we want to be able to put energy out into the world or interact from the internal to the external, what do we wrap our electrical wires in? A plastic.
Mm-hmm.
So that they don't conduct their energy outside of the line that we're setting for them.
Uh-huh.
And that's what wearing plastic would do. It's going to dampen your signal. It's going to dampen your energy output.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even think about that, and like I'm an electrician. Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about. I don't know. I came across some video that was talking about microplastics and things, and how just it's causing all kinds of disruptions within our body, and we all have accumulated that just because they're in our environment at this point, or just all the products that we use. And so at the very least, I was but it had me in like a state where like, well, I shouldn't have been buying clothes anyway, so that was already fine. But but where I'm like looking at everything that I'm doing, and it kind of like it can get overwhelming very quickly.
Yeah.
Because like when you start to realize just how much is not set up or is organized to have you fail or neuter you, um, um, I don't know. At the same time, it's like, yeah, I'm not sure that this is where I was originally going to go with this, but just how um, it all feels like it's all ultimately a test. It is that is still. I would still say that even Bill Gates, he's an individual, but I'd still say that that is Mother Nature manifesting her will to show us X, Y, Z. Um, like maybe Bill Gates is the monster in that scenario that the male energy has created. Um, and at first, it's like, right, like kind of what I first suggested is like, oh, like he's doing what people are asking of him. It's kind of like saying like we're just selling the people what they want, even though that's cheesy gorditas from Taco Bell. Like they just
Right.
want it,
Right.
And
Even though like we've been
we know that.
advertising it for the
But even despite that, it's not even the advertising. It's like these we know anybody just ask anybody like we know just if you have a basic understanding of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we know that for millions of years or like as our bodies evolved, there was a dearth of sugar and fat and so you can press these levers of our human biology.
right.
And you don't need to advertise. You just need to say, "Hey, it's okay. Here it is," and you can afford it.
Right.
And you have people walking willingly into their own like slow, painful death, and in an insidious way where you don't even realize it's happening. And you can even have people shouting from the rooftops that fast food is bad and you can't and you shouldn't be eating it. But it's like at this point, it's all I can afford.
But it's so
It's,
good.
it's all I have time to make for my family.
Right.
And so now I'm trapped, and I have to eat it in order to continue to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they had a whole documentary based off of that, where they were following specifically, a Latin family. Dude's working hard, but he's got like 3 kids and a wife, and just the way things are, it's just not feasible for them to afford groceries every day, so they have to go to McDonald's. You know, and
So yeah,
so
to
same.
me that's that. So it is. It's a manifestation. It's the same thing. It's not a direct route, but that is the divine feminine saying, "Hey, you're not gonna pay attention to what the real issue is, or things have gotten to a point where like it's not your fault. It may not be your fault. You've been led down here, but it's up to everyone to. That's why some sort of miracle has to happen. Some sort of that's why a lot of people probably feel desperate for like some sort of cosmic intervention or AI to be the miracle that solves all of our problems. Because it can do it. It can come up with it. If we can give all of our authority away, all of our agency away to some grand cosmic being that will solve all of our problems. That's the thing too. It's like I don't know. People would talk about like self-driving cars. They wouldn't be able to give up their authority to a car to drive for them. That's going to be a tough change for us to make because agency, our own agency, is what makes life worth living. Is that sense, that feeling of free will that we get to make our own choices, even if those choices outside of our awareness have subconsciously or outside of our awareness have been made for us. Like we still feel like it's my choice to go to Taco Bell, or it's the only choice that I have.
The illusion of choice.
And you go to Taco Bell, and they have a menu of items that you can choose from. That
Right.
are,
Yeah. But really, you're not you're not given the choice to eat anything good. I mean, it's
yeah,
all garbage essentially. Like sorry Taco Bell. Like, but this you just happen to be the example for the situation. But
yeah.
like it's like.
We're not sponsored by Taco Bell either. I think that would be great. Is like we should try and get sponsorships from the places that we absolutely tear to shit. We should try and get Bill Gates to invest in our podcast. Because
Oh
I
shit.
can even see the world where like Bill Gates doesn't see what he's saying. Like when in that podcast when he said it, like he probably doesn't even see what he's saying as he's like, I'm just coming up with a solution. I have been designed to come up with solutions, or I'll work harder than anybody else. That's how he developed Microsoft, right? He's like,
Well,
a million of smart people like me, but I am going to put in the
well.
whatever.
So, to your credit,
You obviously have
I've,
more
I've been following this guy a little bit.
harsher judgment on Bill Gates. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to just be able to give him the benefit of the doubt and then just be like, yeah, he's a philanthropist. He's just trying to do all the things that would be best for the world. But then, like you look at the interview that he had with his wife, or that was had with him and his wife, and the interviewer, the journalist, asks his wife directly, Melinda, like, so what do you think of Bill's practices of wanting to, lower birth rates and increase vaccinations to detriment the population, or this and that and this and that? And she's like, oh, Bill would never do that. He's a great guy. Like, why would anyone ever think he was out to harm anybody? And dude's just sitting there like,
Bill is sitting there.
Bill's just sitting there just like, he didn't say anything. He just looks over, looks back at the interviewer, just sat there, just stone faced. And wouldn't you know it, very shortly after that, they ended up getting divorced.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying it's directly correlated, but it seems very interesting in the timing. And what else? There was another point that I wanted to bring up with that, the Bill thing.
So, well, hold on. To
Very
that
aware of what
end,
he's doing.
so to that end, yeah, with or absolute power corrupts absolutely, because this is kind of the theme of of today's talk, and maybe all of our talks, which might give us a window into what this podcast might thematically be called. Um, you know, what is it? Standing up to power or whatever. But yeah, absolute power, corrupting absolutely, and also like with great power comes great responsibility. So like with Bill Gates as our example, since he's become the topic of what we're talking about right now. If he is like again the amalgamation of or representative of or manifest the kind of the monster that the men became in the Iron Woman, right?
Yeah.
In a sense, right? Like it's, I still feel like, or something tells me that this is still, like you can know what you're doing, but you can also not know what you're doing, right? Like the fact that he got divorced his wife in that, shortly thereafter, could be because this was a growing thing between them, and obviously came to a head or whatever. But like even they had irreconcilable differences, that previous years of marriage. I mean, this is getting too granular. Let me come up from this. Bill, as he's rising to fame and wealth because he built Microsoft, and now he's becomes the richest man in the world, and then he starts doing this philanthropic work. Like, at what point did Bill become the antagonist in your mind, or at what point, or is it a development? Like he's just like, oh, okay, and or it was always there. It was always a seedling, and then just being granted greater power only made it grow and manifest into greater deeds of evil. masked as this philanthropic bringer of, great technology.
Right. So, I would say that it was probably always there, and that through the opportunities and path that he's taken, that is just only increased. So, like, let's
What would you guess? What would you guess the end goal is for him? Like, if he can
world
depopulate the Earth,
domination.
yeah. But what does that? What does that amount to? Like, right? Like
Very
in every
small
villain story.
population that's easily controlled. Everybody's got a mark. They're all chipped in somehow, and you can turn off anybody's wealth and or power and or home anytime you want with the flick of a switch, and then just eliminate people that are a bother.
Yeah, but as we know too, like that existence, that person would never feel safe.
No, they
Like that,
don't.
there's no end game.
No.
So what I mean, I guess what I'm getting at, or where all I'm trying to delineate is like Bill, for example, is that guy climbing into the cockpit of the chemtrail plane, climbing into the cockpit of the plane that's going to drop the bomb. They don't know what that, because otherwise they wouldn't do it, right? You're always going to be paranoid that someone or some revolution is going to happen, or your legacy is going to be tarnished, or that, or if you're not, you're ignorant, and it's going to happen anyway. Like you will never be able to dominate the world. So you have some sort of blind spot if you continue down the path of, I want world domination, I want complete control, I just want to see if I can do it.
Yeah.
That you are going to ignore. You're going to become the Empire in Star Wars, and naturally, you're not going to be able to stamp out all the fires of revolution across the galaxy.
Yeah.
The balance must be restored.
Yeah.
And yeah. So there has to be some innocence there, some ignorance.
Oh yeah.
Some ignorance that exists that allows them to continue down that path.
Oh yeah.
And
The
that's all I'm
hubris.
saying. That ignorance, that ignorance is the saving grace.
Yeah.
Where yeah, Bill giving that look, and I don't know what the look was, but that's him going like, like she's saying stuff that he doesn't understand, that he can't process or digest. Right? That's what makes it for you.
I mean, I would love to be able to just say like he was just confused at what she was saying, but she was
Not
defending
confused,
him. Well, or because all she was saying was like he would never do
but
anything
that's what I
that
mean.
like that. It's like, you clearly don't know who I am. Ah.
But that's what I mean. Is like that's what I mean. Is like either you clearly don't know who I am, but that's just it. He thinks he's that.
Right.
He might even think he's that. He might even be the awareness of like, I want to depopulate and I want to try and control the world, because he thinks that he's going to be able to do that, and that shows a naivete or like
Yes.
some sort of ignorance or innocence.
Yeah.
Like that's how you.
Yeah, and I mean, look at Zuckerberg. Like that, just that ignorance that he could fall, basically, has been his downfall. And he's got a lawsuit right now that's basically looking to tear Meta apart. And like he's another good example. Like we've given him
Hasn't
like
he
all
faced lots of that before?
yeah,
Is there
but
something different about this one?
I think there is something different about this one. But I mean, if you look at his history too, like it's been romanticized in cinema that this dude stole a program and then made millions off of it, and now through working with the government is in like he could be the pilot essentially doing the chemtrails, or he could be that guy's commanding officer, basically getting word from even higher brass from the board, and he's just like, well, this is my division, like I'm in charge of this, and I'm telling you to drop the chemicals because if you don't,
Right.
I'm gonna not get what I need. And so like
So yeah.
yeah,
Well, so ultimately, to me, it all comes down to we are all that pilot. We just thought we wanted to fly planes around, and we wanted to get a good job where we could fly planes.
Yeah.
And it turns out we're all complicit in our own way, to our own degree, in dropping some chemtrails.
Yeah. I mean, the
What
fact.
it's going to take, what it would take, is for a globalized awareness just of that fact alone. And so that we can look each other directly in the eye and honest with each other, which is going to be very hard to do, but be able to face each other and say, this is where I've done wrong, or this is what it takes to keep my ego, my individuality going, and then have somebody or have the in a democratic way be like, okay, so you need to give up X so that we can all, I don't know, like if it was a communist ideal, like I'm not saying that we need that, but like, because that's also not nature either. Nature has the variety. Nature has survival of the fittest, but it's not quite that.
Right.
But it has the balance. There's balance elsewhere, or like either it can't be extinguished, either it can't be extinguished, and we need to keep striving, and we need to keep hoping that science will save us in the end, and we'll keep suffering, and we'll keep making monsters. I mean, like that's probably what's going to happen. It's probably like we're not going to be able to catch all the monsters because we won't on a universal scale look internally and say, how could I do better every day, with every moment, with every choice that I make.
Well, and that's part of the idea of having that cycle of external stimuli from the sun influencing an internal metaphysical change within humanity for us to wake up, for us to come into the light, realize what we're doing, and stop en masse, and just be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're going down a very destructive path very quickly, and we need to stop. And we need to just stop listening to this little cadre of people that are simply the loudest of us, in a sense, saying like, we need to go this way. Come on, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. You're gonna be late. We're gonna be late. Hurry up. Let's get there. You're not going fast enough. Like, we're just gonna leave you behind. Bye. It's just like, wait, don't leave me. Wait, come on. I'm hungry too. And so like we're just getting kind of led by the nose hairs, and into what we don't realize is our ultimate downfall. And yeah, it's like it would be by our own hands.
Well, that's kind of the idea behind the. I mean, we're already a fallen. We're already a fallen species.
Yeah.
No, like just.
Oh.
Like if you want to go, I mean, to go biblical with it, like just by becoming aware of our own. Just becoming like being anointed as conscious beings, whatever we pride ourselves on in terms of being elevated above other parts of existence, that we hold ourselves above the animals and the rocks and the rivers. That's it. That's the inciting incident that separates us from the balance of existence. And so we're going to continue on doing that as long as everyone is hypnotized into believing that humans are better than, holier than, above anything else. When really we are simply or should be just in awareness of what is.
Yeah.
And if that's all we wanted and that's all we desired, that's all we would need. And it wouldn't be about, hey, I need that loaf of bread more than you, and I'll kill you for it. We would be like, I'll happily die,
Right.
so that you can have that loaf of bread.
You
And
can't
we'd
have my toilet
argument.
paper.
No, that's what makes so funny. We'd be having an argument of like, no, you eat the bread. No, you eat the bread.
Right.
You're more important to the balance of things. I put you higher. Like if everybody was just like, oh no, but that'd be
Yeah.
hilarious. I would love that alternate universe. Actually, that gives me a great idea for an alternate universe where everybody is so humble that like the species like they have the opposite problems of us. Like there's
Right.
an overabundance of things, but nobody
Everything.
wants to like take more than their share, so they slowly starve to death because it's like and they just kind of get overgrown or like get
Yeah.
like plants just like grow over them and they get stuck to the walls or whatever.
Yeah. 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 There's actually a concept that's very similar to that idea, just not to the extreme that you're just describing for your
I
alternate
like that
universe.
extreme.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot of fun. Like I would love to see that thought become a short story or something. A clip.
Yes.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Mm.
But there, it's called Ubuntu. Essentially, it's what is it? I forget where precisely Ubuntu is most heavily understood. It's mostly an African concept, where South Africa, I think it is, but the idea is basically that I am because we all are. Like I can't exist without all of you, and so therefore, for me to take from the whole just because I want is going to be a detriment to everybody. And so, like, they had the best example is there was a race, So they put all the kids in a line and told them to race. The first one to get to the end of the line wins. And when you get to the end of the line, you win a bowl of candy or whatever it was, a tasty treat, whatever. And
Yes.
so instead of just immediately just be like, "Woo! I got it! It's mine! Wee!" and just indulging in it in front of everybody, he shared it. They all had some. And
Mm-hmm.
the guy that conducted the experiment was just like, "What are you doing? You won. Like, don't you want the candy for yourself?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I got some, but everybody deserves to have some because Ubuntu, because that's what it is. Like I go to hunt so that I not only am I going to feed myself, but I'm going to feed everybody in my pack."
I mean, right? The victory of um, of the hunt, and even if you're the one that took the shot, the real victory is that you get to provide for the tribe, or
Mm-hmm.
you get to provide for the community, um,
Yeah.
and not I get to have my fill of wildebeest,
Right.
and uh, yeah, that I mean, I feel like that realization on a global scale will naturally that'd be the quickest way to solve all of our problems. It's not that I worked so hard and had the privilege of getting a super yacht um, so that I can go out on the ocean and have all my servants, provide me and my personal chef and whatever.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to do that alone. And like what? Talk to my servants? Like I don't give a shit
Right.
about
Yeah.
their
No,
life,
you're
right?
you're gonna invite every
Uh,
hot chick and all your
they're there,
friends.
and they're there to work. But yeah, no, but that it's going to be a shared experience.
Right.
Um, that if that was my goal, and it should be somebody's goal because otherwise we wouldn't have super yachts. But to like that, I remember driving by Lake Union. I don't know, 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it would even be like winter and stuff. But it would even be like sunny days in the summer, and just how many boats are still in harbor, and just going like that's just those could be. I mean, we could all learn to sail. We could all learn to drive a boat. And if we were all sharing what we've made, I mean, there would just be, I mean, it would be a utopia.
Yeah.
because we have more than we need and there's plenty to go around. And if it's not about that's mine, I mean, I'm dealing that with that that the ego is being formed in my son's mind right now. He's 2 years old,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh
things
boy.
are mine.
Mine.
We give him keys. We give him keys because he needs to have keys and lock the door before he leaves. He wants to do it. He's doing things for himself, and that's a big deal. Like for us to develop that,
Oh yeah.
right? But we may never learn to grow out of it, and maybe it is in part by design of just how our society is. Maybe we don't need to go through that. We could develop an ego, like a healthy ego, maybe from the get go. Like I don't know that. I don't know that's not possible. Because there are kids, there are personalities that just share from the get go, and the environment only has so much influence on who you become. Because yeah, you might be able if you also have a lens internally, or you maintain that lens internally, and it's not as affected by the external, you might be able to maintain it in your behavior to the world, even at no matter what age. That's why kids seem to know things instinctually before their time, or can say the darndest things and do the silliest things, but at the same time also do the most profound things, or say the most profound things when asked. Or if it is part of the culture, like Ubuntu, that it's there.
And it could also, just that to the idea of, human development, that whole concept of mine, yours could just be a physical survival need for understanding of the body. Just like if you take away from me, I'm not going to have any, and it's going to be harder for me to survive, so I have to have something. So I mean, even if we are taking and providing for the whole community, everybody still has to have something, right? Like where's my portion of the meat, right? I gotta have something, Just no, don't cut off my finger, like that's mine. Like, you could do whatever you want to yours, but it's mine, you know, or
but I'm wondering still I think it still applies. Ubuntu still applies in the sense of I will cut off my finger because the pain of cutting off my finger and the pain of not having my finger for the rest of my life might be justified or might be fulfilled by cutting off my finger that time kept everyone alive.
yeah,
And so that fills me up. Or sacrificing myself for the good of the tribe. I could go happily into death, into the unknown, knowing that me sacrificing myself in front of that bear stopped the bear from running amok in the village.
yeah, yeah,
To continue with that analogy, but essentially that it is sacrifice that. That it's still like you want to dissolve the ego, where to have a healthy ego, it's like, yes, I am me, but to be the best version of me, I need to let go of needing to even be a part of this,
yeah,
because that is the surefire way. And to bring it full circle, how many of us might say, oh yeah, I would gladly jump on the grenade for you. I'd jump in front of the bus or whatever. But when the moment comes, would we actually do it? Would we actually stand up for our neighbor who's getting deported, or whatever the issue might be? Would we stand up when the boss is berating our coworker for something that maybe they're overreacting a little bit, or maybe it wasn't their fault? Would we dive on that sword?
So, a great practical example that I experienced today was both a product of conditioning through our environment and an understanding of what we truly need to do to embody the best of humanity. So, I just I knew I wasn't gonna have time to eat, grab something to eat. So I went by a local burger shop called Noah's Ark. Very appropriate, I think, for the time in the day. But like this local burger shop has been around forever. It's locally owned. It's been a part of my upbringing, and everybody in town knows it. So, great burgers, amazing milkshakes, man. I had a blackberry milkshake that was to die for. It's like I couldn't stop drinking it because I was just like, it's so good. But so while I'm there, just like this older gentleman, this Vietnam, Korea vet, this older guy. He could have been in World War II. I doubt it, but like he was pretty old guy.
He'd be in his 90s or 100 now by now.
He could be. He was an old duffer, man. You should have seen the creases in his face and the wrinkles, but like and like just the softness to his hand when I shook it. Like he still had a firm grip, but you could tell like the musculature wasn't there like it used to be in his youth. So, at any rate, like before I even walk in the door, this dude is holding the door open for people. Like young people, and like he's commending this little 2-year-old kid who's sitting there trying to hold the door open with everything he's got so he can be the good example, just like the guy. I like that. I'm gonna do that too. Look me, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. By the time I got to the door, basically the whole interaction's done, and like a little girl held the door open for me. I was like, what?
Beautiful.
Oh my God. Well, thank you. Well, yeah. And like product of our environment, the conditioning that we've been put into over the last 100 years is like women can do everything a man can do. Like, can they though? Men obviously can't do everything a woman can do. Clearly. Obviously. Yeah. I can't make a baby. Sorry.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. Have you seen Junior with Arnold Schwarzenegger? I think well, there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And I also heard that men can lactate if absolutely necessary. Historically, there have been times.
I've heard tell, yeah. But it's gonna be a hard fought battle.
No, go ahead.
I mean, it'll be a hard fought battle to squeeze that entity out of that urethra. But we'll give it a shot, man. I'll make the sacrifice for the kid.
Yeah, we don't have a uterus, so it's gonna be.
Yeah, it'll be a
implant one. We might be able to grow one now that we're growing meat. We're growing organs of animals. I'm sure we could.
We could end up being like hyenas and have a clitoris, that you have to squeeze the kid through, but so.
So women can do everything men can do.
Well, that's so. Sure, yeah. I mean, like,
sorry,
my thought behind that whole statement was just like, yes, human beings in general can do the same stuff. Men and women are equal in opposite ways, right? We already had this discussion, like the divine feminine versus divine masculine. Very external, very internal, very direct, very subtle, very etheric, very emotional. A very, very hard-fought battle versus a very, very compelling argument. So, it just, old man, very young child providing for this family, and then just this little girl holding this door open for me. Very capable young man who should be doing what that old man is doing in my mind, right? This is like me seeing an example of how to be and just being like, oh God, if I was there fast enough, I could have done that, But having said that, moments later, while I'm sitting there just waiting for my food, old dude comes up to me. He starts kind of, shooting the breeze with me. Just like, hey, is this the stand here with your hands in your pockets corner while you wait for your food? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they told me at the door, And it's just like, they're not gonna make your food, right? If you don't have your hands in your pocket. It's like, yeah, pretty much. It's like, okay, I see. Or it goes slower, right? Like, yeah, that's it. That's the one. So we're just kind of having fun. But he noticed something that I just took for granted. He saw this, shorter girl who was getting up on a step ladder with a full bucket of ice to dump it into the soda machine overhead. Clearly, this girl did not have the best of coordination because she kind of stumbled on her way up the steps. Dude didn't even skip a beat. Like, he kind of teased her a little bit, but at the same time, he put his hands up on the bucket and helped her lift it up so that she could dump it in. And I was just like, damn, I should have done that. Why didn't I recognize that? I should have done that. That should have been me. Like, it's my time. I'm of the age to be able to inherit and step into the roles that this guy has clearly played all of his life, and I just don't have those tools. I just don't have that recognition. They're just perhaps I do have the tools, but I haven't honed them to such a degree that he has.
What I mean is, it's like the assumption that you were making there that I caught was you're assuming that he's been doing that his whole life. Maybe he spent his younger years missing those opportunities or recognizing them too late, and with experience and wisdom of a life long lived, that's all you care about.
Right, he can act upon those things. Yeah, right. Yeah. Maybe he saw his daughter. Maybe he saw his wife. Maybe he saw his sister, his mom. Any number of things.
I'm sure it becomes instinctual at a certain point.
Sure.
Like, it doesn't. You don't have to actually, visualize you just become you recognize. I think with age, it took me a long time to realize this too, and I think I'm still realizing it. But like with age, you become kind of by consequence. It's kind of like that divine feminine overcoming you. You have to recognize your connection to everyone. Your awareness becomes, just by nature of growing older, even if it is a patriarchal society, both men and women recognize as they grow older that my ego, my time here on this earth is getting shorter. I might as well spend what energy I have on making the world a better place than when I found it. It's like a natural progression as you get older. But what's also interesting about that is that just like many other aspects of being young and old that parallel, people need to get taken care of when they're younger. They need to get taken care of when they're older. It also parallels there, where the model behavior that you're seeing are the kids modeling the behavior of holding the door open. You're seeing them instinctually know, oh, that's a good idea. I'll do that too.
Yeah.
Where us in our middle age kind of range, we have to contemplate or recognize after the fact, oh, I'm supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
Which is really telling me that we are very much in our heads to a debilitating degree. That's where our battles are being fought, is in our minds, and we're missing out. We're missing out on what's happening now, here and now, because we're trying to calculate what's my best move to be the best servant I can be to the greater good, or whatever our intentions are, or whatever our devious, insidious desires are. We want to make sure that we're not revealing too much so that we can accomplish those ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's internal, because it is a manifestation of the ego. It's, I should have done that. I should have been there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we all run into that all too often. But I do think that's a trap in itself, because it is
right.
Instead of gratitude, the only thought in our mind should be gratitude for that man showing us. leading by example, but also gratitude that he was there too. Like if he wasn't, and he wasn't distracting me with his fun banter, I have gratitude that I would have been there, or that if something would have happened to the poor girl eventually, or
Yeah.
that I would have stepped in. Like at some point, that would be there, so
Yeah.
that we don't have to. Because I know that at least recently I've been spending a lot of time kind of wallowing in my own. It's kind of like an ego trap to just be like, oh, I should have done this better, or I should have done this sooner, I should have, I should, and it's a trap.
Yeah.
I kind of do want to bring that back around because I don't know that we ever finished, or I still don't have a complete understanding of the complex storm.
Okay.
What,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was tomorrow. Yeah. What am I looking at tomorrow?
That was in my mind too. But so just to finish the
Yes.
thought with
Yes.
the old man there, like that opportunity for gratitude did not escape me. I was
sure.
immediately just like oh fuck, that should have been me, man. And then it was immediately just like as I'm thinking that, Chris, your food's ready. He's like, oh, okay, great, thank you so much. Oh, num num num. But I turned to him and I was like, thank you. I immediately put my hand out and said thank you because he was the shining example.
He was the hero of the moment.
He
Yeah.
was. He
Yeah.
was the hero of the moment. He was humble. He was funny. He was helpful, doing everything that I feel like I want to do and be when I grow up. Like no, but and I am grown up. So it's just like those are the things that I want to embody here and now and for the time forward. So I was able to at least recognize the gratitude that I had for him in that moment, and which is why I understood how how his hand felt when I shook the musculature and could tell whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
strong for a handshake.
maybe you have no idea. His skin was so supple and smooth.
Oh, okay. Wow.
He must have
Smooth
moisturized or something.
and experience, like so that you could tell that it was weathered, but at the same time.
Yeah, he took care of himself for sure.
A
So
lot from shaking someone's hand.
okay, so reeling it back in for the Mayan calendar. So my thought here, as far as what today represents and what it leads into to tomorrow, is that this is the moment of trial by fire, by which we reach completion of an energetic cycle. So for us, let's say
How long has that cycle lasted? 260 days?
260 days. So this is day 259, right?
Oh, okay.
So this is essentially the culmination of this last energy cycle, and seeing if we can actually persevere and push through and utilize all the things that we've learned and experienced to the best of our ability, as if metaphysically that whole interaction with the old man was the thing. Just be like, oh, okay, yeah, that is what it is. It's like, just don't think about it, just do it. It's the thing. Like it's the people. The people are what's important. It's not the food. It's not the shiny car. It's not the building. It's not the whatever. It's the interactions between people that matter, and that the fact that we care about each other and are, for us, willing to have this explorative dialogue in order to make ourselves understand the world around us better, and to be able to share that into some kind of capacity so that others can possibly glean an inkling of wisdom, or learn a new thought, or affirm something that they were thinking. Perhaps open a door for them, that literally open a door for them that is a portal to the next thing that they need to nourish their bodies and experience what it is to be in the next phase of life, as you process your current situation, and to recognize that and be grateful for it, right?
I mean, there's open doors is
So
has been said a lot there, and also that came out of a story that we were just talking about. Even though I felt like I was diverting us back to the original,
right,
but it's like open doors, opening doors,
and
and that has yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
it's just like the idea of the thunderstorm, like, as a conduit for the divine fire of the universe. Can we pass through this either, I wouldn't say unscathed, because that's not the point. Because if you go through unscathed, did you learn anything?
You won't learn anything.
You won't pick anything up. You won't have earned your stripes, your scars, your stories, the thing you need to tell for the next thing. And so when it comes to what proceeds after that, the next day, the fruit of light, this would be the reward at the end of the journey. This is coming home. This is finally, getting to that point. It's just like, all right, I did it. We had the hunt. We've got the carcass. We've cleaned it. We've dressed it. Everything's ready. Now it's time to enjoy the feast. Experience the life that we have in the full knowledge of everything that we've learned. The fruit is here. Now it's time to indulge, engage, and consume it as we've finished this journey to proceed on to the next part, the next lesson.
So that would be more of a psychological revelation versus a material like or external world. It could manifest either way.
I would say,
I'm just kind of wondering, like, tomorrow, is it going to be like, oh, since I've been having all these job interviews and either I'm overqualified or not qualified enough, that what's the lesson that I'm learning tomorrow because it's all culminating, or that it's just all going to be all right as I look to provide for my family in the coming year.
Well, my thought would be that it'd be both. It is both physical and metaphysical, etheric and corporeal.
Okay.
So, it could be that, we as a team create something beyond ourselves that provides more than we could ever possibly imagine. And that's what the trial by fire is. And the complex stability that we've created as two organic beings. And that's another portion of complex stability, because 6 is the understanding of organic, of transmutation, of life and death. It's also the number for carbon, which is what we're based off of, is number 6.
Carbon base.
So if we've got two, organic beings coming together in a complex but stable way in order to create something further in the future.
So you're saying literally this podcast could be that thing. Something that we've been talking about for months and is actually, manifested today. This is our first trial by fire.
Yeah.
And that tomorrow we could be inspired to go, hey, that could really, this could really go somewhere. There's something to this thing. And, whatever, leading us to whatever's next.
Yeah.
I feel like there has to be like a name for the podcast somewhere in the last hour and a half that we've been talking.
Yeah.
Something to the theme of what, well, and also maybe, over time, because I would say like what we've discussed so far kind of ran the gamut of like we had, you brought some things to discuss, which is superb because it kind of gave us a scaffolding to bounce around on. So that we could both kind of like express our ideas and also talk very deeply about, the state of our perception, our points of view.
Yeah. And like we've basically, like you said, have been, for lack of a better word, brainstorming by our hours and hours of conversation the things that, really matter to both of us.
Right.
And it was in what, minutes, hours, maybe, that we both realized, hey, other people need to hear this stuff. Like, we can't just keep this to ourselves. Like, this is too
Yeah.
profound. Like, we're touching on topics that are just way far out there that they encompass everything that anybody listening on a peripheral field could just gain something from.
Yeah, it does feel rare, like to run into somebody uh, that will dive as deep as we do. But also at the same time knowing that a platform such as this allows you to potentially have the potential to reach um, people who are hungry for other other people who also think about things at this level. Uh, yeah, I think my I've always been concerned about how do you reach the people who don't already aren't looking.
Right.
How do you get these kinds of things in front of their face? How do you get this in front of the face of the person who's about to step into the pilot seat and drop a bunch of chemicals over the land? Uh, that person being each one of us in our own way, uh, reconsiders what they're about to do with every choice that they make, which seems like a lot, but like it takes time and baby steps, but and otherwise it has to be a miracle where we all of a sudden come online at the same time, and that's where you need a strong man. You need a strong man. The principle of a strong man, somebody who's like, hey, I got all the answers, I'm going to figure it out, and we all look to them at the same time and say, you're going to make the decisions for us, and say, oh, we're all going to like, but that's what we're already doing in a lot of ways.
We want a
So instead, it needs to
spearhead,
be
yeah.
kind of, yeah, yeah, somebody's got to be the tip of the spear, uh, but that's only if we're trying to be a spear and we're trying
Right.
to be the best phallic symbol of masculine power that we can be.
Right.
And there's a shift also because since we've moved into the age of Aquarius and all that stuff, that something that I learned about that is that Aquarians see through the BS and they get frustrated. They want community and they see the reality of things, and then they see the disparity between where we are and where we need to be. And since we failed in the age of Pisces to do whatever Pisces are supposed to do, I forget what that was. Um, um,
Yeah.
the age of, we're just entering this phase of the age of Aquarius, and
Right.
we have what 2,000 plus years
We got some
to.
time. Yeah.
We got some time. Um, yeah, I don't know. Are we going to be able to learn the lessons that we need to? Anyway, to kind of um, uh, it kind of was that thread took me off in a way. I don't know if you can
Well, I mean,
put pieces together there.
well,
What I was getting
I
at,
think
but
what you were kind of, I felt like you were driving at is like we don't need so much to be the spear anymore because we've got a lot of that energy. We understand how that works. We need to be more of the shield, I guess, like a round table. There's no figurehead. It's all one whole,
yeah,
So we all need to be on equal footing at the same table, which is why the round table is such a good example.
right,
Is yeah, King Arthur, sure, he was in charge of everybody, but he had everybody at the same table, at the same angle, so everybody could see everybody and be on the equal plane.
yeah,
Because that's what we need. like, sure,
I mean, a shield.
we've got leaders, but we also have to have them understand that they are just like us. They're no different. We just need them to do that hard part
I think
every
it would
now and then.
be possible. It would be possible, you know, if we're talking about political leaders, like it would be possible if everybody wholeheartedly believed in the system working, uh, and yeah, right. There's a lot of reasons to not have faith in um, the the institutions of our government, and more so, or more so over time, as our government and our as we become a globalized community, but we're still enforcing things by borders and across made up borders and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. Like we've created an infrastructure of illusions and lies,
Mm-hmm.
uh, in the name of organization and control
Yeah, we've divided
and what's
ourselves.
this is my country, these are our things,
Yeah,
this is only us,
we've
when that's
divided our
never been the case.
right. We've divided ourselves into components of a world species of a global community, as opposed to you seeing it for the whole. We're all one species. We're all humanity, and we need to be treating each other as such, not the divisions. Is like, oh, you're from Detroit and I'm from Cincinnati, or it's just I'm from this country, you're from that country. I believe this thing, you believe that thing. We're so different. We're not in any way. We
Well,
well,
I
it's
think we
just to,
are different,
but
and we're the same
yes, yes,
in equal
yes,
parts.
yes, yes. I mean,
Uh,
I already
but I
said
know,
that
I mean, I know what you're
earlier.
saying, right? It's like in order to kind of relieve yourself of the, um, I'm a Chiefs fan, you're an Eagles fan. It's like, but that doesn't need to divide us, right? Like
Right,
we're both fans of football,
right,
ultimately.
right.
Like, hey,
Yeah,
we both like watching football, so it's like we don't need to fight each other over it. We don't need to kill each other over it. We can discuss and be like, well, I think my team's better for these reasons, and you think your team's better for those reasons, and that could be
the,
a creative or constructive conversation.
mm-hmm, yeah.
There's no reason for us to, tear down field goal posts and stuff like that, and destroy things, or light our city on fire, and call it justified because I don't know. I don't know why Philadelphia, but it's become so thematic of their, I don't know, their fandom.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it happens all over the place for different things. Like, I mean, English football firms, like, they go nuts after games,
sure,
and they go to war with each other. They'll trash somebody else's
right.
neighborhood if they've lost or won or whatever. So
Yeah,
it's
so
not.
superfluous.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, uh,
not.
it's so funny because it's like you won and you need to do like that's damage enough, right? That there has to be a winner and a loser. Like that's damage enough. Like it's demoralizing, and it's like
Right.
why
But now I
why do you
need
need
to.
to take that energy and put it into further destruction or demoralization? If anything, it's like why not find a way to Ubuntu it,
Right.
and be like okay, and have then you could have genuine curiosity. Like I would love, in the same way of my example before of the people that are just so humble or whatever, that they get overgrown by plants and give up their bread every day to someone else, and they just keep passing the same loaf of bread around to everyone, and nobody eats it.
Nobody eats.
In the same way, like I love like two Uber fans of whatever you name the sport.
Hmm.
Uh, After one side wins, the winning side guy goes to the other one and could have genuine curiosity. It's like, so at this current moment, like, why do you think your team's better? Than my team. Like, just tell me what you think, oh, it's the refs, like you could even have some sarcasm about it there, but like to just really like we're diving deep right now, like just really dive deep and be like, how much does this one match change things for you?
Yeah.
And if not at all, that's fine. I'm going to respect that. But like, just know that until the next time our teams meet, it's pretty easy for me to know that we're the better team.
Yeah,
And that if that doesn't it like as sportsmanship, if that doesn't inspire the players, if they could have that kind of they shake their hands
camaraderie.
afterwards as a part of practice, as a part of ritual, to kind of instill that. Like that should be replicated throughout. That should inspire you, right? Like you got me this time, but I'm going to work so much harder to beat you next time, just like the Eagles did to the Chiefs. Like they humiliated them. They
Yeah.
were going for a three, and they thought they had it in the bag, but it's like then they got humiliated, and it's like so that the Chiefs are going to do what it takes to not let that happen again. It's going to take a lot of work to get a three-peat, or an opportunity to three-peat again. Like that's going to take, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It. I do know of an example. There is a sport where that kind of is the mentality of, I'm gonna kick your ass in this sport on this field, and then afterwards, after I'm done beating you into the ground and your rest of your team and embarrassing you on the field in front of your girl, I'm gonna take you back to our place, and we're gonna get hammered, and we're gonna have a lot of fun, while I, flirt with that dude's girl or whatever, and and it's rugby. Like that was something
yeah,
I always admired about ruggers is like, yeah, dude, like it could be just a tough game and we could just be beating the hell out of each other and stepping on each other's faces in order to get the ball and knocking each other out. But at the end of the day, we're going to party and drink and have a good time because we're all rugby players. We all love this game. We all love to just kind of fight and have fun. And like the points are really just the ends to the goal. That's it. The means to the end. And that's it.
I mean, yeah, one of my best buds is a rugby player, and he's one of the most kindest, gentlest souls I've ever known. And I think a lot of that comes from the. I mean, I can see why it would come from the culture of the sport. Like they're basically playing football, soccer without pads, and you're tackling each other. Like
Yep.
it's okay to slide tackle and
Yeah.
and
Literally
so
step on
so
a
you,
dude's face. Literally. Like I've
oh
watched it
man,
happen, man. And like I'm sitting there as it's happening. Dude's like stepping on his face. He's looking at the referee. Referee's just sitting there like, yeah, it's cool. Keep going. Like you're not done yet. You haven't got the ball. Get the ball.
right.
And he's like, okay. And he goes down and gets the ball. And dude's just like, he's
Um,
watching the whole thing from the ground, just like, oh man, oh. Yeah, so I mean, it's a
it's brutal,
savage.
but like
Yeah, it's
it's like life, right? So then you can go afterwards and go. I mean, because there are really no rules. I mean, in a sense,
yeah,
I mean, there's rules to make the game a
function.
game,
Yeah,
but like,
you can get away with a lot. Like
you can
there's
get away with a lot. I mean, water polo. I played water polo, and there's a lot of that in water polo. Like, there's definitely rules, and you shouldn't be doing
yeah,
things. But because a lot of it's happening underwater, it's not clear that it's happening,
right. Team's
and
got
so
the
you can get
advantage.
away
Keep
with a
going,
lot.
keep going until I say stop. Okay, you crossed the line. You gotta stop. Okay, take it back. Going back to this team. Okay, now reset. Go, bloom, and you
Yeah,
keep going.
it'd be rough to be a ref for those sports, just because it's like you'd have to witness and be like, well, it's okay,
And then
or like also like you make or break games because you could be so judicious or so meticulous about certain things where you're calling things that may or may not have actually occurred.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, and
and
then you can end up being just as much a part of the game as an obstacle as you are
right.
a referee. So,
Yeah,
so
rough's got to be a rough gig for sure.
yes,
Because then
sir.
you also have the vitriol of the fans on one side or the other, being like, Yeah, that's
Come on,
great.
man. That's a bad
What do
call,
we have?
man. It's a bad call.
40 seconds left? It looks like.
That's what it's looking like. Yeah. Yeah,
Whoa,
yeah.
cool. We did it. No
Yeah.
problem. 2 hours. It'll
Bro.
be fun to take a look at this and have an idea of yeah, what is this? What are if we were to encapsulate this into um, a name, a nom de plume?
Yeah. We.
We yeah, I know some French.
Yeah.
I'm good
Ooh.
guy.
Getting fancy at the end here.
Well, this is great. We can chat uh,
Yeah.
right after this.
Good job, dude.
Oh no, it's gonna keep going. It gives us a few more
Oh.
minutes.
Oh, hey. Hey. Little buffer there. All right, cool.
Um, yeah. So what is the deal then? Is it more than 2 hours?
I don't know, man.
Or maybe it'll.
Maybe we got a couple more bites left before it totally
Oh, it's
shuts
like a
up.
certain amount of
It's just,
certain amount of information.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sure.
So what?
Cool.
Well, yeah. Let's. I'd say that,
Pause
that
it there.
that's a good one, man. Well done.
Cool.
Cool. Bye, y'all.